Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soul Seekers podcast, where we believe that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure as we share our mission of mentorship is conservation. To learn more about everything we do, check out our show on Carbon TV or go to soulseekersnation.com. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. All right, guys, if you're in the market for a new hunting rifle this coming year, look no further than a Kelbley's rifle. I've been rocking their Coda rifle for the last couple seasons and have had great success with it. It's an amazing shooter, and every time I put one of their rifles in somebody's hands, they're like, oh, I got to get one of these. Kelbley's holds over 92 world and national records that are either broken or set on one of their actions or rifles. So they really set a higher level of accuracy. If you want to know more about Kelbley's rifles, go to kelbley.com. That's KELBLY.com. Tell them Johnny Mack sent you with Soul Seekers, and go enjoy shooting that much more in this coming hunting season. Be blessed, everybody. Go check out Kelbley Rifles. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seekers podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Mack. I am joined today live from the Huxworth Safety Company booth here in Las Vegas, Nevada, with Chris Ellis, the man of the marketing side of things over at Timney Triggers, and we're going to be talking all about hunting seasons, triggers, product launches, and just shooting the breeze.
Yeah, we're just having a conversation amongst a couple of buddies.
Man, we're just a bunch of humans that have experiences and
like to do fun things.
Provide a little perspective as well.
Absolutely.
So, also joined by Sam Singleton, Flatland Sam, as I like to call him, as just enjoying the process. Great time, wonderful time at dinner last night with you, bro.
Oh, it's fantastic. Appreciate y'all's time. It's nice to find people that are common values, that like to hunt. We're here because we like to hunt.
Right.
Somebody joins the hunting industry for a reason, right? We're passionate about what we do, passionate about the lifestyle, passionate about conservation, mentorship. That's why I like to sit down with you, man.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun to conversate with you.
It's so great. I'll tell you this. So, podcasting virtually, you're in West Virginia.
Yep.
I'm in Texas.
Yep.
We work time zones. We're trying to figure it all out. But being in the presence of the people that you actually enjoy, it just makes that much better.
It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because what we end up doing is talking about getting Flatland Sam up to West Virginia and see if those legs work straight up and down hills, you know?
I took him the furthest west he's ever been, to mountains of Idaho. And I was like, all
Beautiful
right.
country.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
I was like, you got to, build some calf strength, brother. Like, let's get up and down the. He used to be a former bodybuilder, though.
Oh, there you go.
He would come to Vegas to compete.
First trip to Vegas was to compete
So-
in bodybuilding. Yeah, it was an experience.
Well, I mean, Idaho's gorgeous country, gorgeous rivers. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
You were telling us that story about taking somebody bear hunting and with chasing bears with hounds and be like, yeah, there's a bear at the top of that mountain and let's go get it. And you're up there waiting and you're looking back down and the guy's like, oh, man.
It's tough. It's a different kinds of shape, right? I mean, you can be in CrossFit shape, you can be in gym shape, all that kind of stuff. But when you're hunting, sometimes you just got to be in leg shape.
Yes.
And if you're hunting out west and elk hunting, or you're hunting in West Virginia where it's just crumpled up piece of paper, steep terrain all around, having leg strength. And if you're, West Virginia has a strong history of hound hunting, whether it's for rabbits or for upland grouse or, I keep squirrel dogs if it's for squirrel. And the hounds guys with the bears are the same way. They're passionate about their dogs. They're passionate about their sport. They're in an old area of the world. in West Virginia, it's an old terrain, old country, and that's an old sport. So anytime I get an invitation to go with the bear hunting guys with their hounds, I really, really enjoy it. But, Sam, you ever come hunting with me?
Well, I'll tell you this. The first time we went to Idaho, I never told this to Johnny or anybody we were with there, but my number one goal is nobody is going to wait on me. You're not going to wait on me. I'll kill myself doing it, but you're not going to wait on me.
Well, I've had a point in my life when I was a little bit heavier, when it comes to jobs and kids and just trying to survive and make a living where I got a little heavy. But, I can't shoot it till I get there. So you can get there in front of me, but if I got the tag, you might have to wait on me a second. Nowadays, because it's part of my rituals, I walk every day, 3 or 4 miles in the morning, whatever I can with my dog. And most of those we don't have flatlands. So it's kind of my morning ritual. It's what I do first thing in the morning. You can call it meditation. You can call it gratitude walk. You can call it whatever you want. But it's just the way I choose to start my day is a walk in nature, just to ground myself and feel gratitude about what I'm actually doing.
And that's what it's all about.
And what I'm actually doing is working in the hunting industry, shooting industry, because I'm passionate about that. Yeah. And I'm passionate about our customers and people that I run into, you guys, and I love to share that passion.
In my classroom, I write it on the whiteboard all the time because we share classrooms, so we're constantly erasing whatever the previous teacher wrote. Gratitude makes everything enough.
Exactly.
And a lot of kids, they look at this and they're like, I have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
But my population is hard up, is a lot of incarceration. I'm working with criminals and stuff like that. So gratitude, what is that?
Yeah, I believe wholeheartedly, and it's a mental attitude of getting up in that morning. It's a priority. No matter where I'm at, I am going to go walking. And I'm going to try to walk in nature as much as I can just to enjoy that scenery and that peacefulness and ground myself to realize what I'm doing is important.
Yes.
But there's also a lot of things out there that are high priority to me. And
a lot of people don't use the term grounding very often. I learned it through, I did a leadership course, emotional intelligence training and all that. And we take our shoes off and physically ground ourselves. Do you actually go barefoot on the ground?
Yeah, there's a lot of studies out there that, it depends on how deep down the rabbit hole you want to get.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But there are times, if you think about it, a lot of people go to the beach and they like to walk around the beach and that kind of, well, that's grounding. You're walking around barefooted most of the time. Flip-flops are barefoot on the ground. So in the summertime and when I can, obviously, when it's -5 like it was this morning back home and a bunch of snow, I'm not walking around barefooted.
Have you looked into grounding sheets for your bed?
No, I've never heard of that one.
Oh, yeah. Take it. Have you heard of this? My wife and I really want to get them. We just haven't pulled the trigger yet. But, your house electrical grid is grounded.
Absolutely.
Every wire connects to that giant rod that's hammered into the ground. And so when you plug into that, and that electrical current from, it sounds weird to repeat the word electrical, but from the wiring in the house runs into your sheets, and you get to ground one while you sleep. Fascinating.
That is interesting.
Yep. It's a lot of woo-woo for some people. They can't handle, what? No. Modern medicine, big pharma. Man, I'll tell you what. I feel the best when I'm out in nature.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a very selfish thing for me to do, is to dedicate that hour and a half every morning to hiking with my dog. Now, having a dog at daylight is going to remind you that it's time to go walking, right? So he's my buddy because he likes it as much as I do.
Yeah.
So, but he keeps me grounded in the fact that I know someone's, a good family friend of mine, a pet of mine, my hunting dog, my hunting buddy, who's taught me a lot about hunting.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I kept squirrel dogs, and when my kids got to the age, is that squirrel dog will teach you a lot about the critter.
Right.
And teach you a lot about being wood-wise and, the terrain and the characteristics and behavior of that particular species. It just teaches you a lot. But in my morning walk with him, it's just absolutely part of my day. And it's the best way I know to start a day, because when I sit down to do my real job, which is to tell people why triggers matter.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for 20-some years. I love that job. I absolutely love talking about triggers.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to hunting and shooting and the joy that can bring you of accuracy. But, just that walk with my dog is it's a habit now that's been 4 or 5 years that I don't ever intend to break. And half the time I'm hunting, I'm blessed to have a farm out in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, and I call it my womb. It's where I go to. I've made a lot of decisions on that farm over the years. What triggers to build next, decisions family, decisions about my wife, my kids, what's going to happen, where we choose to live, where I choose to spend my time and who I spend my time with. A lot of those decisions are made out there. I'm hunting, don't get me wrong, but you're not actively hunting from daylight to dark. You're doing a lot of hiking and walking around and slipping through.
Yeah.
And I find myself sitting on a log sometime and just time will go by for a little bit. And I'll be like, I've got that decision now. Let's go.
You know what's funny is running is that for me.
Yeah.
Because, and a lot of people are like, man, how do you go run for an hour? How do you go, I was training for an ultra marathon, 100-mile ultra marathon in 2020, and it got canceled 3 weeks before my race. So I ran literally thousands of miles in preparation for a 100-mile race, and then it got canceled from me. But a lot of people are like, dude, what are you doing for that time? Like, I am in my thoughts having conversations and just working things out.
Yep.
Which more people need to do. And you do it in nature. So we can get more people hunting, we can get more people shooting,
Exactly.
we can get more people involved in the outdoors. Like, this world is going to be a better place.
If you pay attention while you're in the woods or while you're in the field or while you're fishing or whatever, you're going to learn something. There's always something to learn. I've hunted my entire life. I don't remember not hunting. There wasn't a decision, hey, I want to go hunting one of these days.
Yeah.
I just grew up in a culture, in an area of the country where everybody hunted and everybody fished. And it was just what people talked about at the barbershops and at the grocery store, and when you see people in town or whatever, it was just, hey, I caught a walleye, or there's a nice buck up on Ellison Ridge, or whatever, So, but I've been very blessed to where I lived, and I fell in love with hunting because of the people and because of the connection to nature. And I have just the experience. I mean, if you're a bow hunter, you get front row 50-yard seats right in nature's lap.
Yeah.
And if you're a squirrel hunter or a rabbit hunter or whatever, it's the same thing. You're getting a first-hand look at how nature is working. You get to see a new day being born. You get to see a new day ending. You get to see all this kind of stuff out there. If you just pay a little bit of attention, it almost becomes, it's a spiritual thing for me.
Yeah. I will tell you this, and I'm open to all types of hunting.
Absolutely.
Hound hunting, shotgun, archery,
Yep.
I want to do it. When I went from Western hunting to moving to Texas and hunting out of a ground blind over a corn feeder, and there's a lot of haters out there, but like, oh man, well that's not really hunting, you're just shooting fish in a barrel. I'm like, dude, it's not what you think. Is different. But the point of that is I have my ground blinds, 20 yards, or even on the blind I shot my buck at this year, they're literally 8 yards from the feeder. And so when these animals are coming and I can hear them chew and I can hear them munch on that corn, I'm like, dude, this is cool. Because how often do you get to go and just observe? Going as a kid, going to the zoo, Mom, Dad, take me to the zoo. I want to see the animals. But there's that glass wall, or there's that trench and that barrier. And it's like, no, I'm right here.
No, I'm with you. I want people to hunt as much as they can. I want new opportunities, new sports, whatever. I'm for all forms of legal hunting.
Yeah.
I've got my preferences. I'm a turkey hunter. I'm a squirrel hunter. I shoot deer for food. I love to elk hunt. Elk and turkey are my passion. I love to communicate with animals. But just because some people want to do it a different way, doesn't bother me a bit.
Yeah.
You get out in nature and you have fun the way you want to go have fun. You obey by the game laws. Go for it. Have fun.
Right.
Absolutely.
When you started going Western hunting, Sam, was it a mindset shift for you in regards to, I've never viewed hunting like this before? Or did it become more spiritual, or was there like a primal component that you felt like you weren't getting?
Yes and no. It was my first time going Western hunting was in Colorado with my dad. And we had no idea what we were doing. And that hunt didn't fill my tag, but my drive home thoughts of that hunt was, this was hiking with a rifle. That's what it felt like. Over time, it's evolved, of course. And it's more of a pursuit of the unknown. Because, in Texas, we hunt smaller parcels, I say smaller, 2,500 acres or whatever. You have a pretty good idea of what is out there, and what to expect. But when you go west, that's when it was really like we're stepping into something unknown. And I enjoyed that part of it. It was a complete different aspect.
I agree.
What do you think about the unknown of hunting? My Andrew McKeon of Outdoor Life.
Good friend of mine.
He talks about if he knew what the outcome of hunting was going to be, he probably wouldn't even hunt.
That's why I like turkeys. You know, turkeys are harder than heck to predict. And even when you have them patterned, you have no idea what they're thinking.
Yeah.
You think you might know. You know, a good friend of mine said, once I killed 100 turkeys, I thought I knew a lot about turkeys. I killed 101, I don't know anything about them. So I'm a turkey hunter that I don't know anything about turkeys. I'm not going to predict them anymore because they're unpredictable.
Yeah.
You're trying to predict the unpredictable.
I asked you last night at dinner, I was like, hey, how many days would it take for me to come out there and kill a turkey? And you're like,
I'm not going to answer
an
that.
Impossible question to answer.
It's an impossible. Yeah, so I grew up in West Virginia where you don't have a lot, unless you're on top of a mountain. When you're in the hardwoods is where I hunt. A 50-yard shot is a long shot.
Right.
In hardwoods, right? So as a kid that grew up in a crunkled up a little state where you hunt hollers and little bowls and ridge lines and that kind of stuff, you just don't get to see that much. You're up and close and personal to everything, right? So when I started hunting out west, especially when I started really understanding triggers and 20-some years ago, and, I always knew what a good trigger was because I always shot, and I was always a good shot because it's something we always did. But when you go out west, then that's when triggers can really, really matter because, you can stand in one place and see 100 yards, right?
Yeah.
In West Virginia, you can't stand in place unless you're on top of a mountain and see 100 yards.
Right.
But when you're in the hardwoods, 100 acres, excuse me. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I was like, 100 yards.
I misspoke. 100 acres.
Yeah.
Out west, you can glass 100 acres.
Yes.
Right? Well, at my farm, there's not very many places where I can just sit on the hill and glass 100. There's too many trees.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to say 100, I meant to say 100 acres. So when you go out west and you got big vistas and big canyons and you're sitting there glassing, then all of a sudden your hiking with a rifle goes to, there's a good representation of the species. He's over on that hillside. What's our plan of attack now? How do I get there? Where do I feel comfortable shooting? Am I a 300-yard guy? Am I a 200-yard guy? Am I a 500-yard guy? Then you start to talk about being, you owe it to yourself and to the animal you pursue to be as most accurate as you can be. That's what I love about triggers is it allows you to become more accurate with that platform and give you more enjoyment, whether you're competition shooting, hunting, plinking, it doesn't matter because accuracy's fun, right?
Yeah, being accurate and deadly is the purpose, right?
Right. I mean, that is the goal of yours is to become the ultimate hunter, being very, very accurate, whether it's with a bow or a .22 rifle or a shotgun or whatever. Accuracy really matters.
Yeah.
So I love talking about accuracy, and I love talking about why it matters in hunting, and then ultimately it comes down to triggers, and that's what I've done for the last 20 years is talk about why triggers matter.
Hey, man, this conversation's really triggering me right now.
Yeah, I know.
Like you
I know. Absolutely.
So triggers are fascinating.
They are.
Because it is the last thing before that explosion.
Yep.
And do you ever get into the psychology of triggers?
Absolutely. Yes. After 20 years of talking about triggers.
All right, fair enough. That is very true.
Yeah.
So, like, are you thinking trigger pull?
No.
Trigger press?
No.
When you're about to shoot something, where's your head at?
So a fine trigger will take a lot of the physical aspects out of it. There's terms like creep or drag or pull weight or over travel or sear engagement. Those are all scientific words to talk about why triggers matter.
Yeah.
But what happens is if you have a trigger that's 100% repeatable, the hillbilly version is if you want to hit the same hole twice, the same place, the trigger has to break the exact same way every single time, right?
Right.
So if you have a good trigger that you have muscle memory, just like golfing, sinking a putt, or shooting a free throw basketball or whatever, you'll get that muscle memory down where it becomes a mental decision, not a physical decision.
Right.
You'll be, okay, I just ranged that mule deer to 187 yards. I can make that shot because I practiced.
Yeah.
And I know exactly when I put the pressure on that trigger where that bullet's going because I have the muscle memory there.
Yes.
If you have a trigger that is not repeatable, that has creep, take up, or it surprises you when you go off, which is how a lot of us used to learn to shoot. That's not correct. You ought to know exactly, because you have the muscle memory of that crisp trigger, exactly where my point of aim is, where my point of impact is, because it's all shot placement and bullet construction.
Yeah.
The only thing you control before shot placement and bullet construction is your trigger.
Right.
Your gun sighted in, all things equal, you're good.
Yeah.
You press that trigger, the bullet leaves the barrel, now it's all shot placement and bullet construction.
All right. Let's back it up here, because we were talking with Daisy BB guns here, and it all starts with Daisy.
Absolutely.
And their triggers are horrible. So at what point, like, is that making a Daisy BB gun who has just a random trigger, is that making people better shooters, or is it making them appreciate a better trigger more? You know, like,
for me, it's a lot of our gateway into shooting, right? So something has to get someone started.
Yeah.
So you take a 9-year-old boy, girl, doesn't matter, and they're out back and they're plinking cans or shooting trees or dirt clods or hay barrels or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's their introduction to shooting. To me, that is perfect. You know, because a 9-year-old or a young person that started, they just want to go have fun. Let's not make it complicated.
Yeah.
That's why BB guns and pellet guns are so much fun.
Right.
Right? But if we don't get them started in hunting and shooting, then it's a moot point.
Yep.
So yes, triggers are important as you become a hunter, as evolution of a hunter, yes. And a competition shooter or plinker, right. But having said that, they don't have to have the most perfect equipment to get started as a child. They just have to get started.
Yes.
So the fact that someone has a product that a lot of us grew up with shooting tin cans or whatever we're going to, and I remember my son when he was young, he just wanted to go hunting. So we'd take a day, we'd go to my farm and go moose hunting. There's no moose on my farm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it didn't matter to him because he had the attention span of a gnat, so he was just running over there playing in the creek, shooting. Hey, Dad, there's a stump. Let me see if I can hit it. That was the fun for him. And sometimes it would last 5 minutes. Sometimes it would last 3 hours.
Yeah.
But the point is, the day before we talked about, let's go to the farm. Let's pack a lunch. Let's make sure you get little snacks. Let's make sure we have water. Oh, it's going to be cold. Do you have enough clothes? Let's lay our clothes out because we're going to get up early. You got to get up early if you're going to go moose hunting.
Right.
Right? So we'd go out the farm and we'd play. And I told my buddies, I said, I'm not going to ruin this kid, but say, sit behind that tree. Don't move until you see a critter.
Right.
Right? If he lasts 5 minutes, great. Then we'd drive out of the farm and stop by a little diner and we'd have a bacon and eggs or sausage gravy or whatever. We just made a day out of it. And he'd love to tell Mom when he got home all the critters he saw.
Yeah.
Mom, we didn't see any moose, but he didn't care.
Yeah.
Mom, we saw squirrels and we saw a deer and we saw a coyote run across the field, that kind of stuff. And he was an active participant because he had a BB gun in his hand.
Right.
That's what's important.
Right.
That's why your message is so important about conservation and mentorship. It's just, let's get those folks out there and introduce more and more people into the sport that we love, that has given us a lifestyle that is,
right.
I mean, think about the lifestyle that hunting has given us. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I am a hunter. I'm going to be a hunter the rest of my life. It's very valuable that I keep my lifestyle. It's very valuable that we share this lifestyle and nature's wonderful bounties with others. If a BB gun gets them started at a young age, great. There's plenty of time to talk about triggers.
Yes.
Plenty of time.
Yeah.
So,
man.
Exactly right.
I get juiced. These are the conversations, like the energy flows, right? You feel the empowerment of having a conversation like this and want to shout it from a ridge line or the top of the booth and be like, we are living in the best time ever, and let's continue to make it better by giving away life-changing, life-transforming opportunities to human beings.
Oh, absolutely. The technology in this room, the technology today with guns and ammos and triggers and scopes and silencers, all this, it's amazing. We are blessed right now.
Oh, yeah.
We are absolutely, when I was growing up, the conversation was, had to find the perfect hand load. Somebody had the perfect hand load or load for an elk. And to me, that was a magical, mystical thing. What do you mean? You make your own ammo? You just don't go down to the store and buy a box of ammo? And well, nowadays, everything is so good. And we're so blessed with so many options.
Right.
Just look where triggers have come over the years, or ammo, or optics, or guns, or it's just amazing. And I love looking at innovation and technology and how we've taken this sport to the next level. But the missing point is we got to open up doors behind us. We got to find people like us who understand nature and the beautiful of conservation and land access and public land, and
Yeah.
it's something that we have to teach,
Right.
and we have to express ourselves in the fact that
Because if we don't, who is gonna?
right. There's Jake's events, there's Hunter's education events. There's a lot of people doing things out there. Range days. We're all doing what we think's the right thing.
Yep.
But to your point, there's a lot of conversations you can have with other people in your community. Just give them the opportunity to go hunting.
Right.
You know?
Well, it's interesting, and Sam, jump in.
Well, I
wherever
was
you-
going to say,
you know.
fighting for hunting and all that I was oblivious to it until I met Johnny. I was so secluded where I live and who I associate with that hunting was just a thing. Everybody did it. You didn't question it. You didn't worry about it.
Yep.
It's just, that was it. That was it. And I was blind to the fact that it was under attack, and that I was blind to the fact that there's not that many people that do it, and there's not a lot of people that are wanting to learn to do it anymore, I was so secluded with my tribe, I guess, or community of folks where I live, that we didn't know anything different. That was it,
Yeah.
And through meeting Johnny and all that, it really opened my eyes to the future and introducing adults and just people in general to, hey, this is really cool. Check this out.
Well, so Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Are you familiar with that?
Yep.
Safety and security.
Yep.
Right? Food, water, shelter. You give a man a fish, he eats for a day. You teach a man a fish, he eats for a lifetime.
Absolutely.
If he's a good fisherman.
Yeah.
but ultimately, like, how can you not want to teach somebody how to feed themselves?
Well, good point. You guys made an excellent point. One thing that has changed in my tenure in a hunting and fishing world, is I meet a lot of people now that really want to know where their food comes from.
Yeah.
And you can talk about health or wellness, or knowing where your food comes from, or the protein you put in your body, or how you feed your family, or whatever. I'm like you. I took it for granted that everybody had a freezer full of venison.
Yeah.
The way I grew up is just everybody talked about it.
Yeah.
And then when you go out and meet more people, they're like, I don't know how many people I meet that'd be like, hey, would you share some of your venison with me? I'd like to try that. Who don't hunt. But it's only for the lifestyle of being in shape, or clean eating, or clean food, or organic, or whatever you want to talk about. I love that aspect. I love that message. I live that message. You know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's a choice that I mostly eat vegetables and game meat.
Right.
That's how I fed my family, and I think about it now, it wasn't a choice I made. It wasn't like, okay, we're not going to eat hamburgers anymore from the store. We're going to only eat ground venison or elk, or whatever.
That's
wasn't a choice.
That's what
it was.
It was.
Something we did. Yeah, and then my kids got older. My kids are in their 20s now, and now when they come home, they always carry a cooler. They always leave my house with something, and it's not just that, hey, Dad went hunting and let's try an elk, or you want to try a bison or a grouse or turkey or what?
Yeah.
No, it's because they understand what they're putting in their body.
Yeah.
They understand natural and free, hormone for all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's a choice. Now, I did screw up a little bit. I'm telling on myself. My kids thought hamburgers were venison hamburgers.
I'm
think I've heard this
completely
before
guilty
from
of
you.
that myself. Like my son growing up, he's only 4 years old. He'll be 5 this year. But my first bear I killed, we had it processed by the Amish up in Pennsylvania, and they made hot dogs for us. So growing up, he's learning to talk, evolving as a child. We just called them bear dogs. So anytime we go to a cookout or whatever and there's hot dogs, he wants a bear dog. But he does not understand. You know what I mean?
That's same thing I ran into is a backstrap was a steak.
Yeah.
And a hamburger was venison. And then they go out in the real world and they eat this stuff, and they're like, it's just what you grew up with. But they'll get to a certain age, like my kids did, and I'm lucky. Both my kids hunt. My daughter even hunts, and she took her first deer a couple of years ago. It's phenomenal.
Do you think your relationship with your kids is stronger because you hunted with them? But it's not so much about necessarily the hunting, but it was the time invested.
Absolutely. Yeah, because kids, there'll be a certain age where they just want to hang out with their dad or their mom,
Yeah.
right? They just want to do something cool.
Yeah.
They just want to spend time with you. Well, I'm going hunting anyhow, right? And I've always invited them. I try not to pressure them. If they want to go, great. I will. If they want to go, my daughter wants to go hunting, that day is marked off. I'm going hunting with my daughter. That's how important it is. Now, my son is an avid bow hunter and turkey hunter. He's hunting with or without me anyhow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really important. It's really important at least to give them a shot, and then not pressure them too hard or make it too miserable, or do the daddy thing where you almost guarantee.
Yeah.
There's no guarantees in hunting. That's why we call it hunting.
Right. The unknown.
Yep. But if you spend time with them and you take time and go, hey, look at that rock, or look at that fern growing out of that rock, or look at that sunset. How lucky we are. Right. I remember this year I was with my son. He came in. He's in school. He came in and we went on a late season muzzleloader hunt. And he was bow hunting, and I was using a traditional muzzleloader, and I was hunting for food. That's exactly why I went.
Right.
And I ended up shooting a deer right 20 minutes before, sunset. And he heard the gunshot, and he came up. Well, it was a long way away. We had to end up, quartering it and taking the meat out. We had the packs and stuff, which he loves. Those mountain athletes love that stuff, Dear old dad wish I could just pull the truck up.
Right.
But anyhow, as we were walking, by the time we quartered it and everything, we were walking, it got dark. And the stars were absolutely stunning that night.
Yes.
Walking back to the truck, mile and a half, couple miles back to the truck in the dark, he looked up and he said, Dad, look at the stars against all the hardwoods. It looks like they're Christmas ornaments hanging on the trees.
Oh, cool.
And that was a memory. I thought, that's why I hunt.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Look at the stars. They look like Christmas ornaments hanging on a tree. Not, hey, Dad, that was a good shot, or hey, Dad, you got enough food for a while now. No, it was just like, Dad, look at those stars.
Okay. Give us some wisdom. All the people who are listening to this podcast that are going to be parents,
yep,
or have small children, or what's some advice that you could give, that you could pass on to make sure that they are having a good time with their kids through this process of learning hunting, or I only have so many seasons, or I only have so many days.
Yep.
Like, give it to me. I want to know, because I'm struggling right now with a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old.
Yep.
And they all want to go hunting with me. And I can't manage all three of them very well or successfully. Or, last year I had all three in the blind. And I was like, we're probably not going to see any animals.
That's not the point, though.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are some things, tips, tricks, things that are helpful, beneficial that you use, or lessons learned that you're like, hey, don't do this?
Yeah.
That,
Well, number one, you just have to take them.
Just go.
Just got to go. And the way I did it with my kids was I would set a date. And everybody knew that was their day. We're going to go whitetail deer hunting on this Saturday, the third Saturday in October. This is Emma's day. And you plan it, and you look at the weather, and you talk about it, and you talk about food and what clothing you need, because they got to be warm to have fun.
Yep.
Right? They got to be comfortable. Their feet can't be soaking with tennis shoes on. It's just that they're not going to last that long.
Yeah.
Got to make sure they have snacks and that kind of stuff. Then don't make it about the game. I think a lot of hunters they're disappointed where they didn't see a deer or they didn't take a deer. That's not the point. You got plenty of time in your life to really hone in on that. The point is just take them. So when you're in there, you don't have to be a professor and talk about every aspect of nature, but you have to point out some cool things that they may not be seeing. They're looking for deer, right? That's why you're there.
Yeah.
But that's not really why you're there. You're looking for cool things in nature to explain, or just the stars hanging from trees.
Right.
Or a cool fern or a cool tree or whatever. Just make it about them and that day.
I heard, I forget who it was talks about take your kids and plan a scavenger hunt on a hunt.
Yeah. Let them have fun.
Did we see deer tracks? Did we see a certain type of leaf or a flower? Or, did we see a bird? What type of bird was it? And just like putting that out there so that it's not just, all right, we're sitting here and we're waiting. We're sitting here and we're waiting. Because that sucks, even as an adult.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then I hear people all the time that, how was your hunting season? Or, you went hunting the other day with your uncle. How was it? We didn't see any deer. Well, okay, but how was the hunt?
Right.
Oh, the hunt was awesome, man. We did this. Dad got his truck stuck in a mud hole, or doesn't matter. if you take the hunting part out, or the successful part of hunting out of it, and just ask them how the day was, they're going to have a wonderful day.
Right.
But if you base it on, hey, we placed a tag or not, yes or no on a good day, that's a hard thing to live up to, man.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason why we were hunter-gatherers back in the day. We didn't shoot something every day.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm a hunter. I'm not a killer.
Right.
I mean, yeah. The unknown, a lot of it's happenstance.
Make
chance.
the day special. Plan it out. Plan out the food. Plan out the clothing. Set the expectations that we're going to go spend a day in nature's glorious bounties, and let's just go see what happens and have fun. If they
Right.
make it 5 minutes, great, it's a victory. They were out there. If they make it 5 hours, wonderful. You know, they're on their way. If they happen to put a tag on something, celebrate that. But that's not the end all. That is just a side benefit of being in nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, man.
And then eventually they'll end up being hunters, and they'll hunt with you for a while, and then it's a weird day when your kids get old enough and they go hunting by themselves.
Do you feel like you have any regrets as a father about
Well, who doesn't, right?
Very true.
Yeah.
Like, because that's one of the things. Inward reflection leads to outward correction.
Yep.
When we can think about our ways, and then we can determine how to operate after that. I know that these days are long, but the years are short.
Absolutely.
With my children.
Yep.
And I don't want to screw it up.
Well, you're going to look outside one day, and one of your kids is going to be driving away, and all you're going to see is taillights.
Yeah.
And I've been there, and it's a weird feeling. The house feels different, it smells different, whatever.
Yeah.
But I make a point to call in the fall and say, hey, I'm going to go hunting on these days. Would you like to join me? Give them the opportunity. Sometimes life and stuff, work and school gets busy. But there'll be a time when they'll call and they'll say, Dad, you going hunting this Saturday? My answer is yes.
Yeah.
If it's one of my kids, yes, I am.
Yeah.
Even if I was supposed to paint the fence. Absolutely. I'm going to make this a priority.
All right. I wanted to say this right here because people need to hear this, and when we're vulnerable, it provides opportunity for people to really identify where they stand. I don't talk to my father anymore.
Yep.
He taught me how to fish, and he always said he loved fishing, and I could tell when he did it. But my dad never was like, hey, do you want to go fishing with me?
Yeah.
Hey, Jay, let's take a day off of work. Let's go fishing. And it's sad to me because I love what you said. I don't care if I'm painting the fence. If my kid is like, hey, I want to go hunting, fishing, whatever, we're going. We're going.
It's high priority to me.
And at the same time, that is where the relationships are. You know?
Yeah, that's where you're actually going to have time to talk.
Yes.
And to understand what's going on in the world and understand if there's any problems or, being a kid today's tough. It's always been tough.
Yeah.
But there's so much pressure now from all kinds of different things that we didn't have when we were kids.
Right.
Not right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
There's pressure with sports. There's pressure. And there's always been pressure with sports. But there's pressure with social media. And they got a lot of things to do now, right?
Yep.
They're just not going to sit around and watch 3 channels of cartoons, and cartoons are over at 9 o'clock, then they're bored.
Right.
They're going to find something to do.
Right.
But if you can include hunting or shooting and you make it fun and it's about them, that's the key.
Yeah.
Even if I had a giant monster buck pattern at 9:03, he's going to walk underneath this tree and my kids call and want to go squirrel hunting, I don't care about that buck. Now I'm gray and I'm old in the tooth, or long in the tooth, but yeah, let's go squirrel hunting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to go? Let's go.
So I played college football, and I played college lacrosse, and I'm a multi-sport athlete.
Yep.
Had success in that. And some point, either you leave the game or the game leaves you.
Yep.
And what I learned is my children, if they want to play sports, I'll get them into sports. But I'm not forcing them into sports, and I'm not living through them.
That's the thing, yeah.
And so I was having a conversation with my good buddy. I nicknamed him the Trash Man. By the way, everyone who ever goes hunting with me, you get a nickname.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I can hear it now. I'd have to do something with my lineage in West Virginia. Hillbilly, hilljack, something. I got it.
So my good buddy, the Trash Man, who was actually supposed to be here at SHOT Show with us, unfortunately, I was talking to him about this, and I was like, hey, I want my kids to have a skill set of like throwing and catching, you know, or I bought a basketball hoop because I like to shoot baskets. And, you know, I'd love to see them, you know, have the knowledge to know how to shoot a jump shot regardless of whether or not you play basketball.
Right, it's their choice.
And I was talking to them, like, my kids, I ask them, hey, will you play catch with me? Hey, will you do this with me? Hey, will you do this with me? I'm like, no, Dad, I don't want to. No, Dad, I don't want to. And I asked the Trash Man, I was like, I don't get it. Like, my kids, they don't want, I want to do stuff with them, but they're not wanting to do it back with me. And he goes, well, have you asked them what they want to do? And I was like, mind blown. No, I haven't asked them. Hey, Carter, what do you want to do with me?
Yep.
What would you like to do with me? You know?
And most times it's spend time with you.
Yep.
Yeah. I was fortunate. My dad wasn't a hunter. He'd shot a couple of deer, but he wasn't really a hunter. But he always took me hunting.
Yeah.
Every Saturday, he would load up, make it a big deal, make sure we had plenty of food, plenty of clothing, all that kind of stuff. He'd go sit in the woods with his little Walkman and listen to college football.
Yep.
While I hunted. He always took me. And that was the deal. I learned to hunt by myself or with hunting with others or running into people and going home with them. But he always took me because he knew that I wanted to go and spend time with him.
That's cool.
That was it. That was my gateway, was having a dad that just had a tough life and wanted to go out in the woods and just be still. He just wanted to sit on a rock and he was perfectly fine. And I learned to bow hunt with him. I learned to rifle hunt with him. I took everything to turkey hunt, the whole 9 yards, while he's sitting on some ridge somewhere underneath an oak tree listening to college football.
Man.
That's what I took growing up, was like, at least he took me.
Yeah.
Now, he would fish. That was a different thing. But as far as the hunting, but he loved, and he would make a big deal when we were successful. We always had these presentation meals, I used to call them. We'd bring home game, and then we'd have a meal that week. And he would always make, hey, Chris brought home dinner.
Yeah.
We're going to have a venison roast. Chris brought home that venison. And we would celebrate the fact that I was a young man who had brought home dinner for the family.
You were a provider.
Yeah, and he made a big deal out of that.
That's important.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
Huge
awesome.
deal out of that.
I will say, and Sam, you haven't had this experience yet. You will, because Sam's kids are young.
Yep.
My oldest boy shot his first deer, and when we ate that first meal of the meat my son provided, as a father, words cannot describe.
100% agree.
I don't even know how to
imagine what they're
explain it.
feeling.
I don't know. Yeah.
Imagine the pride and the connection to nature and how nature's bounties and that's it.
Yeah.
That is absolutely it.
I get goosebumps thinking about it. Like tears in my eyes, emotional. You're going to have that experience, and don't just.
Oh no.
Over.
I mean, I even experienced it not with my kids yet, obviously. Hopefully this year, we'll see. But with my wife. Like my wife, when we first started dating, she wasn't a big hunter, but I exposed her to it all, and she got it. You know what I mean? She understood it. Well, kids, life, work, all that, she drifted out. Still enjoyed me doing it, expected me to do it to an extent, you know. But this year, she was like, hey, I want to get back in the blind. I want to shoot a deer this year. I've got to fill a tag. I need to do it. And so getting to do that with her, and then, heck, right before we left, the night before we left, it was roast night, and I said, hey, Bo, look, we're eating Mom's roast. And, you know, he's a little kid, you know, he doesn't really understand it all, but it was special. It felt good.
Yeah, that's the key. If you could take animal into meat into a meal, and then serve that to your family or your friends, that's a connection to hunting that really matters to me.
Yeah.
Sure, we all want to shoot, you know, there's a time in your life when you just want to go deer hunting, then you want to shoot a deer, then you want to kill several of them, then you want to kill something big, right?
Yeah,
it's just a
stages of
progression.
the hunter.
Yeah, just the progression of the hunter. Well, you get older as I am, I don't care about antlers. Sure, I'd love to shoot a big buck or a big elk or whatever, yeah. But to me, it's all about the experience of animal to meat into meal, serving that meal to people I love, who understand and appreciate the connection that I have to nature, they have to nature. Yeah, that's the thing. You take a young kid hunting and all we saw was a spike. What's wrong with a spike?
How many times have you heard that?
Yeah. Oh, so my first buck was a spike.
Yeah.
And I was ecstatic. Here I was, 36 years old at the time. I just shot my first buck. And I had somebody say to me, because that night I also was doing a community event. I was like, hey, we're going to be on the eastern side of the state of Washington. I'm going to be hunting late season whitetail. It's any buck unit. And then let's also do a community event at the local pub, eatery, all that, and get people together. So people showed up. I'm like, oh, man, guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of this community. I want to celebrate myself for a second, if you allow me the pleasure. I shot my first buck today. It happened. Been waiting on this. It's been several years. It finally concluded. And I had a guy who showed up to that event and was like, let's see it. And I showed him. He goes, oh, man, okay, just a spike. I get it. I was like, oh, you don't understand. But he also is a guy where he hunts in an area where it's a buck because of how big they are and all that. But there is this progression, and we can't lose sight of that.
Oh, absolutely. No, you got to talk about the day. You got to talk about the experience of being in nature, the way the wind's blowing, how cold it is. Just the fact that being out there is the gift.
Yes.
The bonus is you might be able to bring home a meal.
Right.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
The evolution of a hunter now is I want to bring home a meal. I want to serve and let people taste and the connection. You sit down to a dinner around a table, it's a connection. It's been a connection since the beginning of time. You break bread with somebody, you have a connection.
Yep.
If you break bread with somebody and you serve a piece of wild table fare, I don't care if it's squirrels, duck, deer, I don't care what it is. There's a connection there.
Yeah.
And it is a connection that most hunters and only hunters get.
Very true. Do you believe in surprising people with the food that they're eating?
No.
Or you always say, hey, this is what we're going to eat?
100%. I cook all the time. Cooking is one of my passions. I have a lot of folks over. My kids, friends will come over, relatives or whatever. I never had it. I always say, hey, for appetizer, we're going to have Squirrel Street tacos. For dinner. Now, if you want to try it, that's great. If you don't, I don't put any pressure on them at all. Most of the time, if you just make it nonchalant, here it is. If you'd like to try it, they'll try it. There's no pressure.
Yeah.
If they don't like it, they don't like it. No big deal at all. Yeah. But no, I don't make a meatloaf and then halfway through the meal go, oh, by the way, that was elk.
So I surprised a couple people before, and one scenario, people were like, oh, I thought it tasted a little different, but at the same time, it was nachos. I put ground bear on nachos.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh. And then I brought taco meat to my school. We did a taco feed. And it was a year I killed an elk, and I had a lot of ground.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, this is perfect. Especially when it's covered in taco seasoning.
Yeah.
You really can't tell.
No.
Right? Like, you go to Taco Bell, you don't even know what type of meat you're getting.
Right.
No,
but
when I told them it was elk, people didn't touch it.
Well, it is changed a lot, at least in my neck of the woods, with the people that maybe everybody gets in a bubble, right? I'm in a bubble. I live in a small town. I'm the guy that hunts all the time, and I'm the guy that has critter dinners all the time, right? So when they come to my house, I just plainly tell them what it is and hope you enjoy it. And if not, there's a McDonald's down the road somewhere. I'm sure they got a Happy Meal. It's up to you.
Right.
Like when I'm talking about, hey, I go hunting every day, turkey season or whatever. I'd love for you to join me, but if not, I'm still going.
Right.
Same thing. This is the way I eat. If you enjoy it, that is awesome.
Yeah.
I hope you appreciate it. But if you don't enjoy it, no big deal, man.
Oh, man.
Just give it a shot.
This is fun. I love being with you.
I love hanging with people that love about hunting and conservation and how do we make things better day better way every day, excuse me.
Yeah, speaking of the better way, the Timney way.
The Timney way.
Love it. I love, Timney as a brand and what you guys stand for, I support. I love America. I love American made. I love American owned and operated.
Thank you. We take a lot of pride in the triggers that we make by the best trigger men and women in the world. are all American, built by Americans, and innovation in America. And that's the reason why I like walking around this show. You see new innovations and that kind of stuff. We see lever guns, and next thing you know, our customers are calling and saying, hey, do you make a trigger for a Marlin lever gun or a Smith & Wesson 1854, or, that kind of, that's where we learn about it. The only reason you're around 80 years in a small niche market like triggers is you listen to your customers.
Yeah.
They're going to tell you, hey, Granddaddy had a Mauser, maybe Mom and Dad had a Remington 700. Hey, have you seen the new Winchester or the new Browning or whatever? Do y'all make a trigger for that? And the more requests you get, you understand that they understand how triggers matter, why accuracy matters, and they had a great experience in the past, and they want a new firearm with that experience. And that's why Timney's been around. It's just listening to customers and letting you be more accurate with your firearm, thus you're having more fun.
Right.
It's not that hard.
What products are you guys coming out with this year?
Well, the Smith & Wesson 1854 is coming out next month. That's a big, I don't need to tell you, lever guns are in vogue right now.
Oh, yeah.
So we came out with the Marlin. You helped us with that. The Marlin lever gun trigger, the replacement from Timney, has been wildly successful. We're coming out in a couple weeks with a straight shoe. People like, the shoe's the part that your finger actually touches on the trigger.
Yep.
You can call it a trigger bow, trigger shoe. I prefer trigger shoe. Some people like the traditional curved that we all grew up with. Some people like a flat or straight trigger. They get a better positive feel. It's Ford Chevy.
Right.
They're both doing the same thing, but it's just what you feel. So we're coming out with that to honor our customers because they were asking for it. And it didn't take long for our customers to say, hey, Smith brought back an old design lever gun and modern technology, and it's pretty cool. Ellis, you seen it? And I said, yeah, it is pretty cool. Y'all make a trigger for that? So we put it on a new product list, and we've been working on it, and we're real proud of it. It'll be coming out in the next month.
Okay.
Just go to timneytriggers.com, and it'll be up there in about, I don't know when this is going to air, but mid-February it should be out.
Yeah.
So, and then whatever the next latest and greatest firearm is out there, our phones are ringing, and they're telling us which one to build.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. That's awesome when you allow the customers to drive your development.
That's the reason why Timney's been around in America for 80 years, is we got evangelistic customers that let us know, hey, I think this gun would be really fantastic if it had a Timney.
Yep.
And I'm always like, it's probably a fantastic gun to begin with.
It's going to be way better now.
I understand you're a 3-pound trigger pull person, and we'll make one for you.
Well, my Marlin 1895, I love that gun.
Yeah.
And that trigger was not good.
Well,
it is what it is.
Right.
You guys filled the gap, you stepped in, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I really love that gun.
Well, that was a personal, and in business you kind of got to be a little careful. That was emotional to me because my first firearm was a Marlin 336 in 30-30.
Gotcha.
It's the gun that I used to kill my first deer when I was 10. It was the gun I've used. It got me all the way through college because where I lived, short distances, lots of deer, that was the gun I used for many, many years. And I've always had an emotion. Your first car, your first love, your first firearm, you're attached to that mentally, physically, emotionally. So when our customers decided that, hey, these lever guns being built now are quality, and we would like to see if a Timney would elevate that accuracy, and our engineers looked at that, I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. I kept quiet, but the first time I pulled it, I was like, now we're talking.
There we go.
Now we're talking. And then the 4570, I used it for many, many years for whitetail and bear, and I took it to South Africa. That was my cowboy cartridge, buffalo.
Yes.
That was my cowboy cartridge for years.
Ooh.
And when Timney came out with a trigger for that, I know I work for Timney and I'm supposed to be and I am, but that one was kind of special to me.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I love it. Well, brother, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for spending it with us here at the show. Really excited to be promoting Timney this coming year, and really, this, guys, those of you who listen to this podcast, you got to understand that Timney is now also investing in soul seekers, and soul seekers is our mission of mentorship as conservation. So if you want to invest in companies that also want to invest in you, Timney's one of those.
Yeah, we're a Second Amendment friendly company. Obviously, we support the shooting sports. We support hunters. That's what Timney was built on.
Yeah.
Back in the day when the 1946 Enfields, Springfields, Mausers, they wanted to go hunting.
Yeah.
And they knew they had to become more accurate if they were going to do that. And
Yeah.
the trigger was what they chose, and that's how Timney started. So.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, brother, thank you for your time.
you.
I really appreciate it. Guys, go to timneytriggers.com or timney.com?
TimneyTriggers.com.
timneytriggers.com. If you got a gun that you want a new trigger in, if they don't make it, go down to the bottom of their website and put in a suggestion list because
Yes,
they
please do.
listen. Yes.
That's where all the great ones have been built.
Yes.
Is from suggestions.
Oh, I love it. If you like this podcast, give it a thumbs up, comment, leave a review, share it, whatever you can do. Remember, if you want hunting to last for generations to come, you got to invest in the hearts and lives of other people. For Johnny Mack, Flatland Sam, and soon to get a nickname when we get to hunt together.
Yeah,
Chris
it'll
Ellis.
be in the Spring Gobbler Woods. I'll get one.
Be blessed. Thank you for tuning in this episode. Freedom on, and as always, stay soulful.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's podcast and want to support the show, you can always like, share, subscribe, and leave a rating as it helps us share our mission of mentorship is conservation. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of Soul Seekers Nation as we transform lives through primal adventure.